And one of the things that I've struggled with is saying, okay, we have this language now. We're able to kind of parse our experience, our feelings, our emotions. Not to say that they didn't then, but they didn't have the much language, and it was more of a survival in a lot of ways. And a lot of those things were much more intuitive within the culture. What has happened that has brought this desire to understand the self and our relationships? And if I'm saying something incorrect, please feel free to correct me, that we need to talk about this now.
Yeah, so the changes in our culture are going on at a rate they haven't before. And we have at least two major changes that I can point to. One is the Industrial Revolution. And when that hit, we no longer spent most of the time with our family in multi-generational context. We are now pretty much in work groups for large parts of the day. So whereas previously, if I was, let's say, a stonemason, I would have spent most of my time with my family and we're going to work together, and we would have, my grandfather was probably there. He'd probably been damaged by some accident at work. So he helped raise me when I was little. And then I went work with my dad, who is, whatever it is, and my children would even be expected to follow. Those kind of things that just made a multi-generational life make sense. And we didn't move anywhere very often. So most of the people who I know, and that's one of the things of growing up in South America, most of the people there could tell you what the grandparents of any particular person in the village had been like. So if your grandfather had been a wonderful person, your family was esteemed in the town. And if your grandfather had been a jerk, your family was looked at with some suspicion. That's the downside of it. But here we have the long-term effects of being human, very obvious from at least 3 or 4 generations. Like, whatever I'm doing is going to impact my grandchildren, at least, probably my great grandchildren. And that's completely disappeared from culture. Then the second thing is that it takes practice to relate to other people. And currently, most people are spending about 8 hours a day looking at a computer screen. Computer screens are not people. They don't interact. They don't track us the same way that other people will. The consequences of our behaviors they're not too obvious. And so you can be very rude with a computer screen. And if you walk away feeling like a hero, you can't do that in a village where your grandchildren are going to remember that you were a jerk. So these kind of things that formed us into humans and helped us understand how our cultures and communities work, and even the practice time we need to interact with other people, has rapidly fallen apart. And then there's been the other philosophical changes and stuff like that. A lot of moving that didn't happen before. So when you move someplace, you kind of leave your past behind you. So the sense that, we make a difference long-term in the world is mostly disappeared from human interactions. And now it's a question of how well we do our job, becoming sort of the mainstay of identity. But I think in the West, both men and women are, being reduced to how well they perform whatever their job function is. There's really quite a bit of difference from a relational world that where we all learn these things. So now we have to teach people what your grandfather couldn't teach you because you've never seen him, or you only vacationed with him twice when you went back to visit, for a week.